over half the century has elapsed since the making of this short documentary. And yet, nothing has really changed. We are facing the same crises and dilemmas that so threatened the common good back then. If anything, the plot thickens. Same story, new players. A tragedy we've grown callous to. This upload goes out to those who've lost loved ones.
I'm not sure that I could spell out a specific approach, but let me say first that I certainly would not want to see this very dangerous drug sold over the drugstore counter or in dime stores around the corner. I would think that by turning the addicts over to the physicians where I believe they belong, we would certainly help the problem. As it is now, the distribution of this drug is in the hands of gangsters. If we turn it back to the physicians, whom I think all of us have trusted with our very lives, you see, it doesn't make much sense to say you don't trust physicians, because we have to.
Well, now, you have said that no addict becomes an addict except in the company of other addicts. By maintaining addiction legally, wouldn't we, in effect, increase the addict population?
It's true that addicts do tend to create other addicts, in the sense that I said. But this is in this delinquent, illicit subculture where this occurs. Now, if the addict had a supply of the drug with no anxiety for the future in terms of this drug, I see no reasons or motivations he would have for creating other addicts.
When the stuff is cheap, addiction spreads. Availability is a major factor. Doctors and nurses, for example, have easy access to morphine and other dangerous drugs. Medical personnel have a higher addiction rate than other professions.
Anything well. And so on to the 3 years of training, every time the tension would mount, I'd take more Seconal. And then it got so that to offset the Seconal, I'd start taking Benzedrine. And that turned into a vicious circle. But to me, it was one way of getting through training. The operating room was a hassle, and the night before I knew I had to take the 3 months in the operating room course, I'd take more Seconal and more Dexedrine. And so I graduated, and I went right to work in hospitals. And then I started taking morphine. Naturally, the feeling of Seconal and Dexedrine wasn't enough. And the morphine had to be accounted for on the narcotics. So I would use the patient's morphine and give them sterile shots instead.
Empty shots.
Empty shots, yes, which didn't help them, but I didn't care. I needed it so badly. That was my living, and I knew no other way to make a living. And it became, I couldn't function without the morphine or the Demerol or the Panapon. And that was 10 years ago.
Did you know any others, nurses or doctors, who did the same sort of thing?
Yes. Well, I became addicted to narcotics when I entered training as to be a nurse. And for the first 6 months, I was so paralyzed with fright that I couldn't make it, that I flunked the course, that I started taking Seconal. And instead of doing it to other people, just going to sleep for the night, it affected me in another way. It gave me a sense of well-being. It made me feel that
On the officious side, we have Johnny Lawman taking the stance that privatized prisons always have. Very dangerous, can be fixed, and very dangerous.
I consider it a problem of crime, and I think that until the physicians and psychiatrists can deal with all forms of crime as a medical problem until they can come up with a magic potion that will cure a thief, a rapist, or a murderer. But imperfect as it may be, we must continue to deal with the problem of narcotics in general as a criminal problem. Now, I do not pretend that when we send a dope peddler to prison for a long period of time that we are curing him or even attempting to rehabilitate him. I'm only concerned with quarantining him and getting him out of circulation so that he cannot harm society in general. As I said earlier, I think his reformation should have started many, many years before, and at this late date we're stuck with him, can only apply repressive measures.